How many of you out there have heard of the historical site in southern Alberta called Head Smashed In Buffalo, Joe? Well, that's a site where the Blackfoot Nation, back in their day, used to, by way of stealth, push herds of buffalo over the cliffs and breaks in the ground where the buffalo would fall to their demise or be smashed up badly enough that they could be more easily killed with a bow or a lance. Now, those folks didn't set out to running out into the prairie, hooting and hollering and wagging their arms and chasing buffalo in every direction. No, they used a lot of planning and a lot of stealth. They set out long before the buffalo came and put visual deterrents up along the horizon to keep the buffalo distracted and headed in their direction. And then when the buffalo came, they covered themselves in the hides of other animals and slowly drifted out into the herd and slowly started to encroach on those animals, pushing them towards those cliffs. The visual deterrents out in front kept them mildly distracted while the folks in hides and disguise kept pushing on them, foot by foot, buffalo slowly moving along. Now, they'd also been thinking ahead, and they put what out in front of the herd called front runners. And those were covered in buffalo hides, bent over, making like they were grazing along, slowly working towards that cliff, leading them along. Is this starting to sound familiar? Because we've got a group called the World Economic Forum, and for decades, they've been setting out visual deterrents, sending folks into amongst us, covered in hides, disguises, slowly pushing us along, using those visual deterrents to keep us mildly distracted, while the front runners, covered in our hides, or called politicians, they're out there with a smile on their face leading us towards those cliffs, because they know when the folks at the back suddenly stand up and spook the herd and use fear and distraction, running them towards the cliff, they're going to run too. But just at the last minute, they're going to turn off and hide behind the rocks and watch the unknowing pile over the cliff to their demise. We have a choice at this point in time, people. We can be a herd distracted and slowly pushed towards the cliff where we're suddenly spooked over by fear and distraction. Or we can do what a big old buffalo does when he sees an adversary coming. And that's to stand solid, get himself prepared, put his fucking head down, and smash it into the ground. I'm not going over any cliff, and I'm certainly not being pushed any further. I love each and every one of you. I hope a lot of you start to turn around with me and face what's coming. Because can you imagine what all of us with our heads down can do? Stay the course and get really fucking ready to resist.